Hello and welcome to Stay Aware, Be Prepared. I'm meteorologist Amy Sweezey. Hurricane season begins on June 1st and it continues through November 30th. While a hurricane can occur or form at any time of the year, it's during this 6 months when conditions are best for storms to develop in the Atlantic Basin. Now this year in 2021, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, we are expecting a busier than usual season. In fact, their official forecast is for 15 to 21 named storms for this 2021 hurricane season. Now here's a little more information about their forecast. You can see on this graphic here behind me. Named storms is the 15 to 21. That's any kind of storm that gets a name. Of those 15 to 21 that are formed, 7 to 10 of them are forecast to become hurricanes. That, of course, is winds at 74 miles per hour or greater. And major hurricanes, that's a category 3 or higher. 3 to 5 of those hurricanes are forecast to become major hurricanes. Now, the pie chart on the left that you see there, that's the percentages that talk about whether we'll have a below normal season, a near normal season, or an above normal season. They go back and look at the averages over the last 20 to 30 years, and basically we have a 65% chance that the 2021 hurricane season will be above average, which means, of course, 15 to 21 storms. And how do we know that? Well, because the average is 14. We'll talk more about that in a second. First of all, I did want to show you the names on this year's list. Now, you've probably seen these already. Usually we start sharing them around the beginning of June when the season begins, but every year the list is different and it rotates every 6 years. If a name is retired from the list, then it gets replaced by a new name. And there's actually 21 different names that you can see on that list there. 7 in one, 7 in the other, and then 7 more. And they rotate between male and female names with the A, B, C, D. Each year that's the opposite. So for instance, if that makes sense, Anna is this year, but next year's A-named storm will be a male name that starts with A, and then the female name will start with B, whereas this year is Bill. So just a little bit of background for you there. Now, I also want to show you this list of names too, because in past years what has happened is if we run out of names, that's always the number one question I've gotten for years as a meteorologist. What happens if we run out of names? If we do, we have an extra list. Before this year, we would use the Greek alphabet and name storms alpha, beta, and so on. But this year, there's actually another list. So if we do get 22 storms that form in the Atlantic Basin, Adria would be the first one, and then Braylon would be the second list. So the World Meteorological Organization comes up with that list. It is not me, so I can't put your name on the list for you, but there is an organization that does come up with the list of names, and then of course the National Hurricane Center under NOAA comes up with this official forecast each year. Now, the other thing I want to tell you about is some of the updates, some of the things that are new for this year. The Hurricane Center is constantly working behind the scenes year-round to make sure that you are safe. And one of the tools that they use are these computer models. I'm sure you've seen them if you've watched the news or seen on the internet before, what we call the spaghetti models. And it looks like a big plate of spaghetti with a bunch of lines on it. Well, one of those models, one of those lines is represented by this particular computer model known as the GFS, which is an American forecast model. And there have been a whole bunch of updates done to this, better forecasting tools that are being used. So this will be the first season that all of these updates get implemented, and we're able to have a much better, more accurate forecast for where these storms will move, and of course the timing with landfall. There's an improved storm surge model too. Now, storm surge isn't a big thing here in Central Florida, at least on the east side of our state, just because of the way that the ocean basin works and the way that the ocean floor is formed. But on the Gulf Coast, it is a big deal. So if you have family and friends over there on the west side, over in the Tampa area, then all along the Gulf Coast, storm surge, water getting pushed up from the wind becomes a huge concern. So a bunch of improvements to this model for this year is really going to give us more advantages to show the impacts and let people know, what kind of storm surge that they can expect. Obviously, along the Gulf Coast, it's more of a concern. Certainly in Louisiana, I'm sure many of you remember Katrina back in 2005. Storm surge was a huge concern and a huge issue when it comes to flooding. Now, the third thing that's big, the last thing I'll tell you about that's a new update for this year is kind of cool. We've called it the uncrewed systems, which is basically a bunch of drone type objects. These are things that will be sent out from the Hurricane Hunter planes or also from other locations, but it's going to help enhance the forecasts that are done by the hurricane hunters. When those planes go up and fly above a hurricane, they drop these drop zones, these tools and instruments down through the hurricane. They take measurements and then it lands in the water. Well, now they have these drones that can fly through at different levels of the hurricane, and you can get a more, informative situation of what's happening at all these different levels inside the hurricane. So lots of really cool things happening this year, lots of information that's going to help make this season, these forecasts for this season, much more accurate. And obviously, at the end of the day, it's all about staying safe. So when we come back, we have some very helpful information on how you can prepare. You've heard about the forecast. You know it's going to be a busy season. So what do you need to do to be safe right now before a storm approaches?
When the waves swell, the wind blows, and rain starts to pour, you'll ask yourself, how prepared or unprepared are you? Did you board your windows, protect your home? Secure loose objects so they won't blow away. Bring large items in and low items up. If you're properly prepared, it will help in a big way. Does your family have a plan? Do they know what to do? Is your emergency kit packed, waiting by the door for you? Just because you're not on the coast doesn't mean you're okay. Heavy winds and flooding can wash things away. When a hurricane is near, you need to stay safe. Turn on the radio. Wait for updates. Only leave your home if told so. Grab your bag and go, go, go. Now, if you're home and the heavy wind blows, get away from the windows, watch out for flooding, and protect yourself. You may be without power for a couple days, but your emergency kit should help you to stay. Once the storm is gone and it's safe to go home, be cautious of what's going on. If water's in your path, you have to turn back. Dangerous electricity and things you can't see can hurt you very badly. So before the waves swell, the wind blows, and rain starts to pour, get prepared, make a plan, and protect yourself each and every way. America's Prepare-a-thon. Be smart. Take part. Prepare. Get started today. Go to ready.gov/prepare.
When a storm approaches, we often hear about curfews being enacted and residents not being able to leave the house. But what is a curfew and why are they even necessary? To explain a little more about curfews is Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, who has a lot of experience on this subject, not only as mayor, but also as a former Orange County sheriff and police chief. Mayor Demings, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to get right started with my first question. When we hear that a hurricane is coming our way and we hear about the county enacting a curfew, tell me a little bit more. First, what is the purpose of the curfew and why are they necessary when a storm is coming? How do the curfews protect residents and keep them safe?
Thank you, Amy, for that question. Typically, when we enact a curfew, what we're saying to individuals who are not working, who are not first responders or essential workers, stay home because of the peril that is there. After a storm, typically there's a lot of debris and other hazards that are on the roadways that make it unsafe for people to be out. So therefore, we say stay inside. Also, we do it from a safety and security perspective because many businesses and properties and homes are damaged and they're unsecure. And so we don't want individuals to prey upon those who have lost their homes or their businesses in the process or those that have been damaged.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the timing. How long do curfews typically last? Do you have kind of a general rule of thumb? How long after the storm passes does the curfew get lifted?
In most cases, curfews last for a definite period of time. It could be from a 24-hour period of time or longer. It really depends upon the dynamics of the storm or the hazard that is being experienced by our residents.
All right. Now, I know you've been in Central Florida a long time. You've lived through a whole lot of hurricanes and a whole lot of hurricane seasons, as I have. Are there any other helpful preparedness tips that you'd like to share?
As we prepare for a storm, it's very important that you have ample supply of your medications, food supply, clothing, and money, because oftentimes power is out and you can't go to the ATM machines. So you really need to have everything that you need to sustain yourself for the first 72 hours.
All right. Mayor Demings, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Amy. I want everyone to be prepared and stay safe.
All right, hurricane season is here. We are right in the middle of it. Of course, the big question is, are you ready? So my next guest has some helpful tips if you are not ready yet. And this is someone who is going to help you prepare. Orange County Emergency Management Assistant Manager Carlos Durden. Hi, Carlos. So nice to see you again.
Hi, Amy. Good to talk to you again.
All right, so we need to start off with a very important question, and that is, when is the best time to start preparing for a storm? What kinds of things should we put in our hurricane kit? What kinds of things should we stock up on?
Well, that's a good question. We always want the citizens to start preparing for hurricane season before hurricane season. But if you have not started preparing, it's never too late. Now is the time to go out and start preparing your hurricane kit. Things you want in your kit: you want to have food. Obviously, you want to have non-perishable food in your kit. You want to have batteries in your kit as well, fresh batteries. If you have batteries in your items from last year, make sure you pull them out and check them, because those batteries will corrode. If you don't have a weather alert radio, make sure you get a weather alert radio. That's one of the best things that you can have in your kit. It's also a good idea to have cash in your kit as well, because if power goes out, a lot of people won't take your credit card, but they still would take your cash. If you have pets, please don't forget about your pets and make sure they got a amount of pet food that they can have in there as well. Also in there, your medications. If you have medications, make sure you go to the pharmacy and fill your medications up with enough time to make sure they're filled before the actual storm hits.
And children too, right? If people have kids, you might want to have some games or activities, some things for them to do in case they get bored stuck at home.
Yes, you know, kids is very hard to please. So you want to make sure you got those computer games charged up. Make sure you got the iPads charged up. Make sure you got those cell phones charged up. A lot of good things that the kids want to have too, if you lose power, is those portable battery chargers. Because as long as they can keep those phones charged up, they can be entertained.
Yeah, and you can get your news information, of course, from your charged up phone as well, in case your TV or your cable isn't working. You mentioned food. Let's talk a little bit about water. You always see people, on the news, they're rushing out to buy all these cases of bottled water. Is water important? Do we need to go out and rush and buy all those cases, or do we have some other options?
Well, we like to tell people with the water, you want to have 1 gallon of water per day per person for 3 to 7 days. Water is very important, but just remember, if you stock up on your water now, when everybody else is rushing out to get it, that's one less thing to worry about. Another option with the water is you can fill up your bathtub. If you fill your bathtub up with water, you can use that water to flush your toilet. You can use that water to clean your dishes, to water your plants, and also do a spot bathing with it. So it's a good idea to fill your bathtub up with water as well. But very important to have water.
What are the things that we should consider when we're trying to prepare our homes and all the surrounding areas for hurricane season?
Well, Amy, there are several things to consider when preparing your home for hurricane season. One of the things that a lot of residents or citizens always forget is their gutters. You always want to make sure your gutters are free of debris. Reason being is when they get a lot of rain, you don't want that water to back up on your roof. That's very important. So make sure your gutters is always free of debris and clean prior to hurricane season. The next thing, if you have any trees or any shrubbery or anything that touches your house, you want to take that time to make sure you cut the tree branches back. That's very important as well. The next thing a lot of people always forget is your yard furniture. If you have yard furniture, patio furniture, umbrellas, including trash cans outside, you want to make sure those items are brought in or secured.
Yeah, and I think, I mentioned the 2004 hurricanes. I remember so well after Charlie, everyone went out and cleaned up their debris, left it in piles, but then Hurricane Francis came so quickly right on its heels that those piles of debris were thrown all over the place because of the strong winds.
Yes, and we always tell everybody the debris is very important. It has been documented that debris have actually injured people or actually killed people. So we take debris very serious with the debris. So make sure you got those things. Everything is tied down, hunkered down, and secured. That's very important.
Exactly. So learning from the past, right? People can learn from those of us who have been here for a while in hurricane season. So my next question is, I know that in every storm season, Orange County offers free sandbags. Some people don't even know what they're for. So can you just explain a little bit of why we might need sandbags and then what they're used for?
Yes, those sandbags are used for flooding. You know, during hurricane season, you can have any type of tropical storm out there. It don't even need to be a hurricane. You can have a regular afternoon, evening storm that can cause flooding. So those sandbags, when used properly, can prevent or divert water from entering your house. When you place the sandbags out, you want to lay them the first layer down nice and flat, and you want to make sure that they're really tight against each other. With the second layer of sandbags, you want to stagger the second layer on top of the first layer so you get that good seal in there. But if you do it correctly, that can prevent and help divert water from going inside of your house.
Yeah, and there's such, lots of areas here that have poor drainage too. So even in an afternoon storm in the summer, when you get 1 inch of rain, you can see flooding all over the street. So in a hurricane, I remember Tropical Storm Faye several years ago, we had 20 inches of rain, 20 plus inches of rain over the course of a couple of days. So I think those sandbags are really good, some really good advice there. So another thing about the sandbags though, when you're finished with them, how do we get rid of them? Are we supposed to bring them back? Are we supposed to just dump them somewhere? What do we do?
No, the county don't want the sandbags back. So what I like to tell the residents is just keep the sandbags for upcoming storms. Or if the sandbags are starting to deteriorate, take them outside and use them in your garden. If you got holes in your yard, it'll be a good time to fill in the holes with sand. But the county do not want the sandbags back.
All right. My last question has to do with insurance, because often we start talking more as storms approach about hurricane insurance, flood insurance. Is there anything that people need to do in terms of updating their insurance policy? And, is there a point that it's too late? Like, do you need to start it sooner rather than later?
Yes, you always want to check your insurance policy. And we always have a big push before hurricane season to make sure you pull your insurance policy out and go over it. Call your insurance company and ask them the hard questions. Hey, if I have a hurricane and this happened, am I covered? Because that's very important to know. Another bit more important thing is flood insurance. A lot of people wait to the last minute when they see the storm's going to impact them, and they will call the insurance company and request flood insurance. What a lot of residents don't know, it takes 30 days for that flood insurance policy to go into effect. So if you want to have the flood insurance added, make sure you call them with enough time before the actual storm impacts to make sure you're covered with flood insurance.
Very good advice. And of course, you want to get flood insurance even if you don't live in a flood zone, because your house can flood no matter where you live in Central Florida. All right, Carlos Durden, thank you so much for that wealth of information. Very helpful for us today. Orange County wants you to be prepared before, during, and after a storm. For more information on how to prepare for an emergency, please visit our website. It's ocfl.net/storm. And remember to stay aware, be prepared.
Hurricanes are one of the most destructive forces in nature, but fortunately, we can prepare before the storm makes its impact. There are many things you can do prior to a hurricane to lessen the damage to your home, like boarding windows and removing items from your lawn that become airborne in high-velocity winds. But sandbags are one of the most effective tools in reducing flooding to your home from the storm. Please remember, sandbags will not stop water from entering your home entirely, but they will drastically reduce the amount of water that can get through. They can be properly placed in doorways, in front of garage doors. They can also be used to cover drains in your home, or to hold down plastic sheets to make a better seal. Sand makes a much tighter seal than bags filled with dirt, and that's why they are used. During the storm preparation phase, the county may make sandbag pickup locations available to the public for you to access. You can find these locations on the Orange County website, or listen to local news updates for times and areas closest to you. These locations will close just prior to the storm making landfall. Please do not wait until the last minute to get your sandbags. And note, there may be long wait lines, so prepare accordingly. Residents are allowed 10 sandbags per household. And make sure you're an Orange County resident. You'll need to provide a driver's license to show proof of residency. When you bring your sandbags home, try to determine the best place to use them according to your home's elevations. Main entrances and sliding glass doors could be a good choice. First, start from one side and make a row with your sandbags, placing them as tightly together as possible. Then, make a second row on top and remember to stagger the seams. When the storm has passed, you can use the sand in the bags for certain applications of gardening, composting, and landscaping. All courtesy of your Orange County government.
When preparing for a storm, there are a lot of things to consider when it comes to protecting your property. Natural disasters such as hurricanes, floods, and fire can be devastating to your life and family. In addition to creating a disaster preparedness plan, it's important to protect your legal documents. So how prepared are you? Well, to explain a little bit more with some more information, we have a special guest. It's Orange County Fire Rescue Senior Fiscal Officer, Karina Zavaios. Karina, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Amy.
All right, so my first question for you is, when we prepare for a storm, we usually think in terms of things like food, water, batteries, supplies. But what are some of the overlooked items, some of the documents that we should be thinking about securing during the storm season?
I will say personal documentation like driver license, IDs, immigration documents. That's very important too. Other documents will be home insurance. Remember to save your home insurance documentations, your deeds documentation, your mortgage documentation. If you have a lease, please save your lease documentations. I will say to save your phone books with important family numbers, police numbers, and any local government numbers in case you need to call and you will not have electricity or cell phone, because sometimes we don't remember the number, so it's better to have it write it down in a phone document.
And speaking of our phones, you know, the computer, all of those documents are usually just saved on the computer, they're in the cloud. You know, is it really important to have physical documents, to have the actual pieces of paper, the actual license, all of those things instead of the computers?
Yes, because you never know when we may not have electricity because due to an emergency, sometimes the electricity is being off. So it's very important to have physical documentation in case you need to call your insurance company, in case you need to call your family members to tell them that you are safe. Please, it's very important to have physical documents in case of emergency. And it's also, I would recommend to place those documents on a waterproof bag.
That's good. I've heard some people say before, maybe like in a Ziploc bag that was waterproof and then put it inside something else in case you get a flood, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, you can do that, and also you can place that documentation in a backpack to have it ready in case you need to go to any shelters. You can have that documentation with you.
All right, what's great information. Fantastic. Karina Zavaios, thank you so much. She is the Orange County Fire Rescue Senior Fiscal Officer, and there's a lot of things to consider that maybe weren't at the top of your to-do list, so you might want to add that on there as you're preparing for a storm. For more information and tips like these to help you prepare before, during, and after a storm, please visit our website. It's ocfl.net/storm. And remember, stay aware, be prepared. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Be Aware, Stay Prepared. When a storm is on the way, one of the most important aspects of preparing is to stay informed. Orange County Emergency Management helps keep you safe and informed. Orange County Communications and Warning Coordinator John Mulhall is here to share some of the ways that Orange County government is informing its residents during an emergency. John, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome, Amy. And it's a great honor that we have this opportunity to share information with our citizens and anyone who's just visiting what to do in case of an emergency.
Tell us a little bit about the different services that Orange County provides. Obviously, we know you want to make sure the residents are safe and that they get reliable and up-to-date information. So what are some of those services that the county provides?
Well, one of my favorites is ocalert.net and OCFL Alert. This is our suite of services where you can sign up online at ocalert.net, and we'll send emails and text messages to you directly as there's important information. The OCFL Alert app is a smartphone app you can download for free from either the Apple or the Google store, and we'll send those same messages straight to your phone. Now, there's a whole host of other services we have available. We use the Federal Integrated Public Alert and Warning System, or IPAWS, so we can send alerts directly to the neighborhood level to smartphone devices and also over your TV station. Now, when there's a major emergency, such as a hurricane, this EOC around me becomes a hive of activities, and a lot of it is dedicated to making sure those of you at home are informed. So we activate our website, www.ocfl.net/storm, and have up-to-the-second information there about shelter locations, sandbags, evacuation routes, curfews, and any other information you may need. Now, of course, another great way to keep on top of things is to follow us on social media. So when you go to ocfl.net, you'll see at the top there's buttons for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of your favorite social media. Again, information directly from Orange County. Plus, Orange TV. Right there on your cable system and over the air, you get live feeds right here from the Emergency Operations Center, so you're as informed as quickly as possible.
We live in a day and age of gadgets and devices. Everyone has all kinds of electronic devices in their home. Which of those are the most reliable in order to stay connected and informed?
The best way to stay connected and informed is to have a variety of different resources. Now, especially in a hurricane, we always have to be aware of power outages. That's why I can't say enough about the National Weather Service weather radio, because it operates both on your household power when there is power, but then batteries when it's not. And that'll give you up-to-the-second weather information. And a new thing this year is we will soon have the ability for us to send messages straight from the EOC here directly to those weather radios. Now, of course, we all love our cell phones and our smartphone devices, so make sure that before the storm hits, you keep those charged up and think about different ways to charge them even when the power goes out, because those are a great way to stay connected, not only to us here at Orange County government, but to family members and loved ones.
All right, and where can residents go to get more information about staying safe and, of course, preparing for storm season?
Our website, ocfl.net/storm, is a hub of information. Before an emergency, it's great for preparedness resources, such as how to get your home ready, what information to have in your supply kit, and all the information I shared about ways to stay informed. Now, when an emergency hits, that becomes the hub of up-to-the-second information on shelters, sandbags, evacuation routes, curfews, any information you need from Orange County government on how you can stay safe and how you can react to an emergency is going to be right there at ocfl.net/storm.
You know, it is really great to see that Orange County government has so many options for residents to stay connected during an emergency. Thank you so much for joining us today, John Mulhall, Orange County Communications and Warning Coordinator. Also, anytime there's breaking news, just remember to watch live right here on Orange TV. During a storm, we bring you live coverage directly from the Orange County Emergency Operations Center 24/7. For more information on how you can watch our channel at home or even from your mobile device, just visit our website, orangetvfl.net. And for more information and safety tips like these to help you prepare before, during, or after a storm, visit the Orange County website. That's ocfl.net/storm. And remember, stay aware, be prepared. We'll be right back.
water is an essential resource for oncoming storms and hurricane preparedness. Stocking up on water prior to any disaster is crucial. Plan to have 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 days. Bottled water may be convenient when available, but your tap water is safe, reliable, and inexpensive. It meets or exceeds federal standards. It is also economical, as the first 1,000 gallons of Orange County Utilities tap water is just a little more than $1. Before the storm, fill up sanitized containers with tap water. This could be sanitized food-grade containers for drinking and cooking, like coolers, pitchers, and jugs. Do not use bottles or containers that have held toxic substances. You can also fill a sanitized bathtub. To do this, you'll need 1 cup of household bleach and 5 gallons of water, 1 capful of liquid dish detergent, and a clean cloth. Clean the bathtub thoroughly and rinse. Remember, never mix bleach with any other chemicals. Wear rubber gloves and eye protection. Try not to breathe bleach fumes. And open windows and doors to get fresh air. Your tub is now ready to fill with clean tap water. Having a plan for your water needs will ensure you are prepared ahead of a storm. Orange County government wants you to be prepared before, during, and after the storm. To find out more about emergency preparedness, please visit our website at www.ocfl.net/storm.
Whether you're new to Central Florida or longtime resident, one of the hardest decisions when a storm approaches is, should I stay or should I go? To explain what to do, whether you decide to shelter in place or evacuate when a storm is coming, is Orange County Emergency Management Specialist Sandy Lanier. Hi, Sandy. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hi.
All right, my first question for you is, if a storm is on the way, we're hearing the reports on the news, we know that there's something, getting close to Florida, and I live in an evacuation area, what are my options? Where should I go?
One of the first things that we ask of you is that you seek shelter with family and friends, or in Orange County shelters, which is typically located in public schools. Now, all schools don't open at one time. Shelters are identified according to the event and around the area of the event.
Are the shelters free for people to go to, or do they have to pay?
The shelters are free.
Okay, that's good to know. What about if they have pets? I know sometimes people decide to stay home because they have pets at home and they don't want to, or maybe feel like they can't bring them to a shelter.
So when we open shelters in Orange County, we open 3 types of shelters. They are a general population shelter, there's a pet-friendly shelter, and a shelter that is actually open for people with special needs. Now, if you go to the pet-friendly shelter, we ask that you provide for both yourself and your pet.
Okay, and if I prefer to stay at home and shelter in place, what is the safest part of the house to be in? In tornadoes, of course, we tell everybody to go in an interior room away from doors and windows. Is that the same for a hurricane?
Yes, it is the same. Shelter in the interior rooms, your closets, your bathrooms.
All right, this is great information helping everyone in Orange County to stay safe during this hurricane season. Thank you so much for joining us, Sandy Lanier. Sandy is the Orange County Emergency Management Specialist. I know that leaving your home and your belongings is never an easy decision, whether you're new to Central Florida or whether you've lived here your whole life. But knowing that there are some safe options and knowing where to go is very reassuring. For more information on shelters and what to bring with you, please visit our website at ocfl.net/storm. occurring over our area, you may have lots of questions. You may have a question about running your generator, or maybe you need to report an emergency. Knowing what to do and who to call can be a matter of life and death, not just for you, but possibly for others. So to explain and give us a little more information on this topic is Samari Lopez-Hill. She is with Orange County Emergency Management. Hi, Samari. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my first question is, a storm is occurring now and the power goes out. It happens a lot in the summertime here in Central Florida, but in a hurricane, what should people do? Who should they call? Is it any different from a hurricane to any other kind of disaster when the power goes out?
Well, first and foremost, we want to make sure that not only yourself but your loved ones are safe. Next, prioritize your surroundings. And if you do have power outage, we ask that you call your respective power companies such as Duke Energy or OUC.
Now, speaking of who to call, I know a lot of people only just know 911. Call 911 for an emergency. Everything is 911. But there's actually another number, 311. Tell me a little bit about the difference between those two and why we can't just call 911 for everything.
Well, 911 is for emergency situation, whereas 311 is for non-emergency situation. 911 should be used for emergency situations in order to have police department, fire department, and ambulances respond accordingly, where 311 Orange County residents can use to get information to report road damages, power outages, as well as any complaints.
So the 911 emergency is just if somebody's, in immediate danger, whereas everything else that you might have a question or you see a tree in the road, you should call 311.
Correct.
Now, my last question has to do with generators. Often, if people have a backup generator when the power does go out and they run it, a lot of times we hear stories about people putting the generator in their home or even just in their garage with the door open so they think that's okay. Is that a good idea? What's the best policy with running a generator?
No, it's not a good idea because the exhaust fumes generated from the generators can still seep through cracks, through doors, through sliding glass doors. And unless you have a carbon monoxide detector, you will not know until it's too late. So we ask that you please put these generators, a safe distance from your home, of course, a safe distance from any windows, cracks, sliding glass doors. Make sure you're using the generator, follow the instructions of those generators, as well as use those outdoor extension cords that are meant for the generators.
Okay, so we've got our phone numbers and we've got our safety tips. Samari Lopez-Hill, thank you so much. Orange County Emergency Management. Orange County wants you to be safe. For more information and tips just like these to help you prepare before, during, and after a storm, please visit our website. It's ocfl.net/storm. We'll be right back.
After a major storm, you may find yourself without power and consider using a portable generator. Please take a moment to review these important generator safety tips. Your life may just depend on it. Generators are useful tools, but like any tool, they require proper use, and generators, when improperly used, can cause death to you and your loved one. First, follow the instructions that come with your generator. Placement of your generator is key. Never use a generator indoors or in partially enclosed spaces, even those with partial ventilation. Never run a generator in areas where people or animals are present. Opening doors and windows or using fans will not prevent carbon monoxide buildup in the home. Place the generator away from windows. Never assume that you are safe. Be on guard. Carbon monoxide fumes emitted by the exhaust can be fatal, especially to those who are sleeping. You cannot smell or see carbon monoxide, and all homes should be equipped with carbon monoxide alarms for this reason, much like your home's smoke alarms. If you start to feel sick, dizzy, or weak while using a generator, get to fresh air immediately. The carbon monoxide from generators can rapidly lead to full incapacitation and death. If you experience serious symptoms, get medical attention right away. Always connect the generator to the appliances with heavy-duty extension cords. Hooking up your generator directly into your home power supply could energize the outside power lines and electrocute an unwary utility worker. If you must connect the generator through the house wiring to power appliances, use a qualified electrician to install an appropriate power transfer switch. Again, safety is key. Generators can kill when used improperly. And lastly, never store fuel for your generator in your house. Do not store fuels near a fuel-burning appliance, such as stoves and water heaters. Before refueling the generator, turn it off and let it cool down. Gasoline spilled on a hot engine can ignite. For all the comfort and convenience generators supply, they can be deadly. Please review your owner's manual and follow all instructions. Orange County government wants you to be safe and prepared for storm season. To find out more about generator safety, please visit our website, ocfl.net/storm, for more information.
After a storm passes, the aftermath and damage left in its wake can be quite alarming, but it may not necessarily be considered an emergency. There could be live power lines on the ground or even a large tree blocking your driveway. Reporting through the proper channels and appropriate services will not only save you a lot of frustration, it'll also make sure that time and resources are not spent waiting on hold. With us to explain what to do after a storm and who to call is Sarah Rake. She's from Orange County Emergency Management. Sarah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the phone numbers. We all know 911 is for emergencies, 311 is for non-emergencies, like if there's a tree in the road, but there's also 211, right? What do we call 211 for?
So 211 is for assistance with food, housing, financial assistance, health programs, and crisis support.
Okay, so I think a lot of people don't know that, so that's a good reminder. We have 911 for emergencies, 311 for non-emergencies, and then 211 is for other things, like if you need help with food or things with your house, things that are non-emergencies for sure.
Yes, so things like insurance, food assistance, and utility payment assistance as well.
All right, thank you so much for that great information, Sarah Rake. She's with Orange County Emergency Management. This information is definitely going to help save you a lot of time and frustration if you know who to call during an emergency or even in a non-emergency, but certainly during a hurricane or a tropical storm. Remember, Orange County wants you to be safe, so for more information and tips like these to help you prepare before, during, and after a storm, please visit our website, ocfl.net/storm. We'll be right back.
For assistance in Orange County, there are 3 important numbers to know. Here's when to use them.
911.
For emergencies, dial 911. If you're in immediate danger or in a life-threatening situation and need assistance from the Orange County Sheriff's Office, fire rescue, or need an ambulance, please use 911. For non-emergency Orange County services, dial 311. If you have a non-life-threatening concern, such as flooding, debris, downed trees, traffic matters, road conditions, and animal or neighborhood concerns, please use 311. To connect with social services available in the community, dial 211. For non-emergency assistance with food, housing, financial assistance, health programs, and crisis support, please use 211. For assistance in Orange County, knowing when to use these numbers is critical to connect you with the proper service as quickly as possible. For more information, please go to ocfl.net/call.
That just about wraps it up, but before we go, I'd like to turn it over to the Orange County Emergency Manager and Fire Rescue Division Chief, Laura Lee Avery. She's got some final thoughts about the 2021 hurricane season. Chief Avery, take it away.
Thank you, Amy. So as Amy shared with us, we're in for another active hurricane season. Hurricanes can impact without a direct strike, and major flooding is always possible. Different parts of our county can be affected differently. So for that reason, please don't wait until an announcement is made of an upcoming storm before you get prepared. Planning should include supplies enough for 3 to 7 days, and this should include supplies for not just you, but your family, pets, and any children in your household. Remember that preparing today leads to a safer tomorrow, and remember, we are safer and stronger together. Back to you, Amy.
Chief Avery, thank you so much. And thank you at home for joining us to learn how you can be aware and stay prepared during this storm season. On behalf of myself and everyone here at Orange County Government, we wish you all a safe and uneventful storm season. Be safe, everyone.
Each year, it is important to be prepared for the hurricane season ahead, and 2021 is no different. As we know, it takes just one storm to impact a community and cause significant damage from high winds, storm surge, and flooding. NOAA works closely with our partners to help emergency managers and communities make targeted decisions to support public safety. Millions of people in the U.S. live in areas that could be impacted by a hurricane, and only a fraction of those live along the immediate coast. Now is the time to get prepared. Visit the National Hurricane Center's website at hurricanes.gov throughout the season to stay on top of any watches and warnings. Be sure to visit FEMA's website, ready.gov, for additional hurricane preparedness tips. Hurricane preparation starts at home. Start today, and together we can build a more weather-ready nation.